In the history of cricket, you get great bowlers, and then you get absolute forces of nature. Today, we're talking about a guy who really defined an era of fast bowling, a guy who did it with just sheer pace, raw aggression, and a presence that could intimidate the best batsman on the planet. This is the story of Allan Donald.
This quote, right here, it says it all. See, Allan Donald wasn't just another bowler. He was an event. It was more than just his skill. It was his whole presence. Batsmen knew they were in for a serious battle the second he started that iconic run-up. That glare, that pace, it was one of the most fearsome sights in the game. He got himself one of the all-time great nicknames, White Lightning. And it was just perfect, wasn't it? It captured his blistering speed, yeah, but also the shockwave he sent through world cricket when he first arrived. And of course, you can't talk about White Lightning without mentioning the signature white zinc cream he wore, like war paint, which just added to that whole menacing look.
Now, to really get why Donald was such a big deal, you have to understand the timing of it all. South Africa was just coming back into international cricket after years of being isolated because of apartheid. They needed a new hero, a symbol for this new chapter, and they found him in this young, fiery fast bowler from Bloemfontein.
And man, things moved fast for him. I mean, look at this. He makes his first-class debut in '85, and by '91, bam, he's suddenly the spearhead for South Africa's attack in their very first match back on the world stage. There was no easing him in. He was their #1 weapon from day one. And did he ever deliver under that pressure? Oh yeah. In that historic first game back against India at Eden Gardens, in front of like 90,000 screaming fans, Donald just exploded onto the scene. He took 5 wickets for only 29 runs. And he wasn't just getting anybody out. He knocked over legends like Sachin Tendulkar and Ravi Shastri. It was a performance that made the entire cricket world just stop and say, who is this guy?
But here's the thing about Donald. He wasn't just fast. He was aggressive. He knew that fast bowling was just as much a psychological battle as it was a physical one. His whole on-field persona was a weapon, and it was in some legendary one-on-one battles that this persona was really forged. And if you want the perfect example of this, there's nothing better than the epic duel between Donald and England's captain Michael Atherton back in 1998 at Trent Bridge. This wasn't just cricket. This was pure theater, and it was as intense as it gets. What's so powerful about this quote is that it comes from the autobiographies of both players. That tells you everything. After a catch was disputed, a furious Donald just unleashed hell. We're talking a relentless storm of bouncers, all over 90 miles an hour. It was pure, sustained hostility that people still talk about to this day.
And that really sums up their rivalry, doesn't it? Atherton showed incredible bravery to get through that spell. But at the end of the day, Donald owned him. In fact, Atherton was famously known as Donald's bunny. He was dismissed by him 11 times in test matches, more than any other bowler. That's just complete dominance. All right, so let's talk about the period when Donald was, without any doubt, the most feared fast bowler on the planet. From the mid to late 90s, he was at the absolute peak of his powers, just terrorizing the best batsmen in the world week in, week out. Just look at this number, 80. In the calendar year of 1998, Allan Donald took 80 test wickets. To put that into perspective for you, that is still one of the highest tallies by any bowler in a single year in the entire history of test cricket. He was on a completely different planet. And it wasn't just a flash in the pan. Check out these career averages. An incredible 22.25 in tests, and even better, 21.78 in ODIs. That kind of consistency and deadliness across both the 5-day grind and the fast-paced 1-day game, that's the mark of a true all-time great. But you know how it is in sports. For every incredible high, there's often a crushing low. And for Allan Donald, his came on the biggest stage imaginable, in an incident that has, well, haunted South African cricket for decades. So picture the chaos. It's the World Cup semifinal. The scores are tied. South Africa needs one single run to win. Lance Klusener hits the ball and just takes off. But Donald, his eyes are glued to the ball. He hesitates for maybe a split second, drops his bat, and by the time he starts to run, it's way, way too late. The commentary from the legendary Bill Lawry just captured the absolute shock of the moment. Donald did not run. I cannot believe it. A tie.
But because Australia had finished higher in the group stages, they were the ones who went to the final. It was the most brutal, heartbreaking way to lose, and for a long time, Donald was the face of that tragedy. But here's what separates the good from the great, right? It's how you respond to something like that. Donald didn't let that one moment define him. He pushed forward and built a legacy based not just on fire and fury, but on historic achievements and the respect of the entire game. And a huge part of that comeback story is this number, 300. He became the very first South African bowler to ever take 300 wickets in Test cricket. For a nation that was still finding its place again, this was a massive milestone, and Donald was the man who smashed through that barrier. So when he finally hung up his boots, the final numbers were just incredible. 330 Test wickets, 272 in ODIs, and at the time he retired, both of those were national records. It just cements his status as one of the absolute greatest cricketers his country has ever produced. And his influence didn't stop when he stopped playing. Look at this list. After retiring, Donald became one of the most sought-after bowling coaches in the world. He's worked with international sides, domestic teams, huge IPL franchises. Everybody wanted a piece of his knowledge. It just shows the immense respect he commands across the globe. So from the fiery spearhead of a nation reborn to a Hall of Famer, Allan Donald's journey was something else. He gave us moments of pure terror, breathtaking skill, and yes, even soul-crushing heartbreak. So it leaves us with one last question to think about. In an era that was filled with legendary fast bowlers, where do you place the man they called White Lightning?